Alright, in the interim between now and the last news video, monthly Bushiroad dropped and we got actually a significant amount of cards. Quite unusual for monthly Bushiroad, and we've been going rapid fire on the cards of the day to the point where we don't have any foils left for Granblue after this. But let's get into it. First off, we have Ruin Shade at triple rare. She still does her mill 2 thing to get plus 4k as expected, but she has a secondary ability that once you hit the 10 or more cards in your drop zone threshold, she gets another plus 4. So she's hitting 2 stages solo against Excel and Protect, and with a booster like, say, Romario that we're going to be going into later, she ends up hitting 4 stages against even Force Clans, which is kind of really good. So Ruin Shade is obviously very good. I don't think that she should be triple rare because like this sort of beater effect, like I don't think deserves that sort of rarity, but it is what it is. So whatever, it's probably getting the origin rare. The other triple rare is Dandy Guy Romario, who actually does not plus. It's a Counterblast 1 when rolled upon to put a card from your hand into Soul, mill 3, and then put any card from your drop zone into your hand. Now, it might as well just be from among the 3 cards because there's going to be nothing else in your drop zone at that point. You have no opportunity to get more things in your drop zone before that point. So it's a 1-for-1. It lets you build Soul, which will be useful for Basskirk and for Cutlass, assuming Cutlass Soul Blasts. And of course, it also has the 10 or more cards in drop, gets plus 4k passive, so like boosts Ruin Shade really well, really good target for revival if you have to put it in the front row for whatever reason, which might not be that uncommon. It keeps the plus 4k during your opponent's turn, so it's harder for your opponent to swing into it. So it's overall really good. The one downside though is that you're paying a Counterblast to get what is effectively a wash and need to ride on it to do that. But as long as Granblue gets some form of countercharge, which I'm pretty sure they will, I don't see it being a problem. Even if they don't, I don't really think it'll be a problem. So we should be good. Captain Nightmist at double rare. This is really fantastic. On rear, when placed, Counterblast 1, revive a grade 1 or less. And then if you have 10 or more cards in drop, you can call any grade. So obviously this is really good. Like this is one of the highest quality pluses in the game right now because like you can get access to anything. That can just be a Skull Dragon. Like Evil Shade is absolutely a 2 of now at best because of the need to, because you won't be able to spam Evil Shade. This exists, like that's great. It also makes a certain line of play I was considering really good. So like once your opponent is at 5, Basskirk's crit doesn't really have value. So you can just ride into Skull Dragon and get like 30k and whatever. And having multiple cards that can Counterblast 1 to revive while on rear allows us more freedom to go for that line of play since we're not relying on our Vanguard to be able to do our revival. And then lastly, a card from Monthly Bushiroad, we have Painful Bullet Night Gewir on place, mill 1, and if there are 10 or more in drop, it gets plus 10k for the turn. So it becomes an 18k booster or attacker, like really versatile, really good. Might not be so great in the early game, but overall, really good card. Pretty happy with this. Very happy with all the Granblue stuff. It's shaping up really fantastically. But moving into Dimension, please. We got Miracle Beauty, which is our first rare non-Excel gift, grade 3. Miracle Beauty is on attack from Vanguard or rear. When it attacks a Vanguard, if it has 30k or more power, it Counterblasts 1, stands another Miracle Beauty, and then when it stands on rear, you stand one of your rear guards in the same back row. It's not great. Like you have to jump through way too many hoops to make this work, and like if it's on rear, you need to get the rear up to 30k power, which isn't that high of an order. That's just a force marker plus a boost, but it's not worth it. The next card, however, is very good, and I'm very confident this will make the final cut. Miracle Cutie is a grade 2 with the standard 10k power, and when it hits a Vanguard, if your Vanguard has 30k or more power, you draw a card, just free. Like all the other on-hit draw effects we've seen have had to pay something in return. But this is just straight free as long as you have a condition that you're going to be going for anyways. So this is fantastic. I can't see this card not making the cut. It's just way too good. Like, you need a good amount of Vanguard buffers, but between Dragon and Cosmobeak, from what we can glean from their effects, like, you shouldn't need more than 2 of your grade 2 slots eaten by feeding your Vanguard power. So this is such a powerful card that they need something really good to usurp this. Miracle Dandy is solid. It's on Guardian Circle. If your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, it gets shield plus 10k. It's only 9k power though, and because of the reasons I just talked about with QD, I don't think there's going to be space for this to make the cut. It's a cool card, but I just don't think there's space. And lastly, we have Dimensional Robo Dilander, which is very simply, as long as your Vanguard has 30k or more power, your opponent cannot intercept. Like, just turning that off, blanket, on a back row card is really good. So, you know, this is a pretty solid card. And, like, it's another good rest target for Dayusha. Like, all of the grade 1s we've seen so far for Dimension Police have been cards that work just as well if they don't boost. So they all function very well with Dayusha's rest to gain power ability. That's just very nice to see. And lastly, we move into Aqua Force, where we mostly got trial deck stuff, but we were able to glean a few details of cards from today's episode. So first up, we have the 17k attacker from the trial deck. This time the condition is when it attacks and is not boosted. So the same condition as Maximum Riser, except this has a gift and it gets 5k less power in exchange, which I don't think is a terribly good exchange, but whatever. Shotgun Assault, this one is actually pretty good. This one basically kicks out Basil out of the deck, probably. So Shotgun Assault is when it attacks a Vanguard if it's a 3rd battle or more, Soul Blast 1 to give it 8k power. So this hits 17 in comparison to the 14 that Basil hits on 3rd battle for a Counterblast instead of a Soul Blast. And we haven't seen anything else that uses Soul Blast. And we have cards that go into Soul. So, like, Soul is a good resource to be using. Or, on the 4th battle, it is 17k versus 19k. Now, we also have to keep in mind that we now know that Maelstrom buffs your entire front row by 3k passively. So, this is actually hitting for 20 versus the 22 for Basil. And I don't think the Counterblast and being more restricted in terms of battle is worth getting an extra stage against Excel and Protect. I think Shotgun Assault is going to be the go-to here between the two. It's really solid, and like, this is probably going to be the power gainer you'll go with, because you get really good power for a resource that nothing else is using currently. Like, if we get a bunch of Soul Blast stuff, then obviously this changes. But as it is right now, this is really solid. Battle Siren Dorothea is about as awful as she originally looked in the anime. 7k power, and it's Count Blast 2 to give one of your units plus 8k. I wonder if Aqua Force just doesn't have much Counterblast usage, and that's why cards like this and Basil are being printed. It will be interesting to see if that's the case. Maybe this will have a place if that ends up being the case, but I'm skeptical on this kind of card. And then we have Tier Knight Theo. Tier Knight Theo is when it attacks, or when its attack or attack it boosted hits a Vanguard, and it's the 2nd battle or more, you give something else plus 8k. Obviously very solid, works as an attacker on an Excel circle as well, like I wanted that double rare from the set to do. This works like that. Doesn't get rid of itself to draw a card like that card, so that card would have still been way better. Like, I would have way preferred to have that get the when it attacks thing, but whatever. Theo is really solid. It works on Vanguard Circle too. Good stuff. And lastly, we got a leak from BCF Nagoya on what Algos does, which is on Vanguard. If it's the 2nd battle of that turn, you Counterblast 1 to stand one of your rear guards, and when it attacks, if it is the 1st battle of that turn, Counterblast 1 to stand itself. So very solid stuff. We have all the trial deck now. And all the double rares as well. So it's up to the triple rares and VRs to save Aquaforce, because I'll be honest, they are not looking too great. They don't really have any ways of generating an advantage to consistently belt out of field, which is the same issue that Nova Grapplers had. But their standing capabilities are maybe looking a bit better. I don't know. The power that they're hitting is definitely looking better, but I'm not too confident in how this deck is looking right now. It's looking like another Nova Grapplers, but we'll see. We haven't seen the triple rares or the VR yet. Tidal Assault from the anime ep seems to definitely restand. Maybe it's procced when the Vanguard attacks, or maybe it was Maelstrom's ability. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. And that's it for the news this week. Yeah. See you guys later. This is Hunter Search signing off.